Are y'all ready? Madison County Board of Education Tuesday, June 7th work session is called to order. Mr. Vest, would you lead us in prayer, please?
I sure will. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for this day and the many blessings. Be with us tonight as we make decisions that affect our school system, our students, and our parents. We pray all this in your Son's name. Amen.
Mr. Massey, I believe your update is next.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's been a little while, about 2.5 weeks since we've had a board meeting, I guess. I want to welcome Mr. Daniel Hicks, that's here working on his Eagle Scout badge. Daniel, want to give away? All right, Daniel. So we welcome you as our special summer guest of getting to attend the board meeting. So good luck on your scout. You know, we got other things going on around the district. We've got robotics camps going on at Hazel Green and Project Lead the Way training happening at Legacy today. We really have all kind of professional development. This is kind of the season for that. We're getting ready to host another North Alabama Technology Conference, and that is becoming a huge draw for all of North Alabama and in Southern Tennessee. And so it's always an exciting time for the as this is the time our folks take to invest in themselves and make strides to be better and to better serve our kids. So that's it's kind of some of the things going on around the district. And as we get going here, we've got a couple of items for our work session, just kind of for presentation and for discussion. And first up will be Frank Nola, our architect, that's with some updates on the new school.
Thank you, Mr. Massey, board members. We appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening to give you an update on the design and progress with the new high school. I'd like to start with introducing a couple of members of our design team who are here with me tonight. Kathy Riggs, our project architect. Kathy's a parent of 2 recent Buckhorn grads. She's a part of the Madison County family. Also, Brett Wiseman, our civil engineer from Littlejohn, is with us. And Johnny Ozier and Chris Jones from OMI, who are our geotechnical engineers for the project. So I'm going to divide this presentation into 5 sections. We're going to talk about the site. We're going to talk about the building plan and the program elements that go into making up that plan, the building exterior, the budget, and the schedule. So we'll launch right in with the site. And I think all of you by now are familiar with the property. This just gives you an aerial overview of the property as it is now. As you know, it's directly across from Legacy School on Pine Grove Road. The site bounded by Pine Grove at the top, Pettus at the right, and Waltrana on the left side, or the western side. So this diagram kind of gives you an overview of the campus development. Again, showing the infrastructural improvements with the roads. Since it is a, thank you, that's a lot better. Since it is a fairly large site, I've kind of divided this into a couple of zones. We'll look first at the western zone. But I guess before I say that, one of the kind of defining characteristics of this site is the I'm going to point to the screen that's opposite me just so you can see a few things. Defining characteristics, there is a piece of high ground right here where you see all these kind of spaghetti lines. That's indicating that the highest ground, that's where the building will go, which happens to be directly across from Legacy School, so that they will have a unified campus arrangement. And then I think the other defining characteristic of this site, other than its excellent road network, which we're tied into on 3 sides, is a kind of tangle of wetlands and streams. We've got a stream here, a wetland, another stream here, kind of a wetland that goes mostly across the adjacent property that's not part of this parcel, but crosses a little bit over the front of the entrance drive. You've probably heard on and off about our struggles with the wetlands, and I feel like we're finally at a good place on that. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the schedule portion of the presentation. We'll look at the west side of campus. You can see the building is building is here on the right side. You've got Wall Triana at the far left side. That's the western boundary, with athletic fields that are outdoor athletics complex. We just kind of woven in between the stream and wetland features. Stadium here with field house at one end, practice fields, tennis courts, track and other practice, soccer field, outdoor athletic facilities. And then looking at the eastern side of the campus, again, the building in the center, and then this stream crosses the site at this kind of odd angle here, where we are able to just squeeze in competition baseball and softball fields, part of which involves mitigating some wetlands areas that are indicated by that dark blue. Road improvements, so we've been working with the county engineer's office on road improvements and getting our drives and roads located in satisfactory places. Of course, the entrance, the kind of main visitor entrance here will be across from Legacy. There's another entrance directly off Wall Triana on the western side, and then recently relocated in the design a driveway off of Pettis, which is here, which we relocated about 150 feet to the north just to try to create as much queue space where this turn takes place, just so we can alleviate any future traffic problems here. Interestingly, one discussion point that came up in our last meeting with county engineers, there's a possible traffic circle or roundabout that may be located here at Pine Grove and Pettis. And I think our configuration of the baseball field works nicely with any future development of a traffic circulation feature there at that intersection. This is a quick graphics just to show you about programmatic components that go into making up the school. Kind of an enumeration of classrooms, science classrooms, career tech, those various components. I'd be happy to return to this if we want to look at details when you ask questions. The bottom line is it's a facility that's about just a hair under 200,000 square feet. That puts it in line with your other high school facilities, I think within a percent or two of your other facilities in the system. And then taking that to another level, just of analysis, looking at building capacity, the total number of teaching stations of 57, an average of 30 students in each one of those at 100% efficiency gives us a building capacity of 1,640 students. The number at the top is interesting too. Taking that 1640 population and a total square footage of around 200,000 gives us 122 square feet per student. I would say that's consistent with your other facilities in the system, but probably on the low end, I would say, of other high schools in the area. This is a basic zoning diagram just to show you how the building plan is put together. So the area at the bottom in red, that's the core academic area, the main entrance here. Then it has two wings that extend to the back with a central wing that is the media center. Then there's a kind of career tech zone in green that runs from left to right across the page. And then at top right, athletics complex. Then at left, an arts complex. And then commons area in the center. And then at the top left, it's designed for a plug-in for a future performing arts facility. This would be an auditorium theater facility that is designed to integrate here at the back of the arts complex. And then offering convenient parking to the bulk of the parking for activities that take place in this facility. I think one of the kind of key features of the design is is something that Carrie and I have been working with in plans for a couple of years now, a concept of trying to get these elements integrated, the commons area, the athletics, the media. We're seeing schools developing more as community centers, and this I think works well on that concept of a community center model where these elements, these three elements in the center, all have a kind of synergistic relationship to one another. Another special feature of the building, this is kind of new in the state. You've probably heard a lot about storm shelters. The building will have 2 storm shelters, required capacity for a building of this size, required to accommodate 2,100 people. We'll have 2 shelters, each accommodating 1,050 people, and they're occurring in these wings that project to the back on either side. Floor plan, an overall floor plan of the building. You can see this is zoned out. Again, this takes you to a greater level of detail than what I showed you in the zoning map, but the kind of light brown are your classroom or instructional spaces. These sort of bluish things are administration spaces, media. This yellow is the athletics complex, and then the dark brown is the arts. Then the second floor, it's a very limited second floor area, but mostly concentrated in the upper level of that academic bar here at the front. And then the gym is a tall volume with a large mezzanine area that's actually large enough for to accommodate a wrestling mat. This is just a quick diagram I wanted to show you. It's something that we can use as a design and communication tool. It just shows the plan in an axonometric projection with the roof removed. You can see we can kind of peer in and see things like exactly what the gym looks like and the configuration of the bleachers. The front of the building is kind of as it relates to that academic, that front academic core. You can see a very traditional style building, kind of central portico element. We can look at a view next, gives you a little bit better idea what that looks like. So now we'll talk about budget. So when we set the budget in 2013, we were looking at a total cost of construction of $44,500,000. When we look at that in June 2016 numbers, that has escalated to $50,175,000. I know that those numbers probably look pretty shocking because it represents about a 12.75% escalation over 3 years. I need to point out that I would say this all in, all your costs, with the exception of those ones that are listed, which are kind of particular to how you furnish the new high school in terms of things like uniforms, band instruments, and things like that. The total number includes tables, chairs, some allowance for your IT and IT infrastructure, but there are some items that are not included. So why the escalation? I pulled this chart from Turner Construction. Turner's a national company. They also have an office here in Madison County, which they're tracking construction costs in this particular chart, I think from 2012 or 2013 to the present. It's hard to make out the fine detail, but it just shows and it accounts for that escalation, I think on a quarterly basis here, 1% per quarter. Then looking at this particular chart showing just over the last year, 2015, 2016, again, 1%, a little over 1% per quarter. If you look at years 13, 14, and 15, we can see over 4% escalation in cost per year. I'm sure the logical question is, where's the money? What are the cost items here? We've got, of course, the bulk of it is in the building, a little over $36 million in site preparation, $1.25 million. Kind of a big, somewhat shocking number to me is the value of outdoor athletics. So that would be the price to get you everything that I showed on that site plan. So that includes things like baseball, softball, press box, batting facility, full stadium for 4,500. That includes restroom facilities for about 80, includes restrooms totaling 86 toilets. So it's probably $2 million in restroom facilities alone that are related to outdoor athletics. Furnishings, again, this is the furnishings that are included in the budget. That's tables, chairs, desks, but not some of the other things like musical instruments. Then we've got fees, professional fees for architecture, engineering, testing, permit. A modest contingency, I'd say very modest for a project of this scope of $1 million, 2%. You can see that total is $50,175,000. So this next slide is just a markup basically of the previous slide showing that possible way to approach this is to rethink the scope of the outdoor athletics component, recognizing an available funds limit of $43 million. If we totally did away with the outdoor athletics, that would leave about $1,125,000. Provided we didn't use up the contingency, we may have some more money there. And realize that's going to be a difficult pill to swallow. Schedule, in terms of schedule, we are advancing on the site preparation and have been working on that in earnest for the past couple of months since Christmas time. We, like I said, we've gotten through most of our Army Corps of Engineers issues. We have a few more hoops to jump through there. Our ADM permit has been filed, and we're waiting to hear back on that. Another Army Corps of Engineer permit has been submitted. We think that's just a matter of just walking that through. Contractor pre-qualification, that closed yesterday at 5 o'clock. Interestingly, we have 5 contractors who have expressed interest in bidding on the project, and they happen to be identical to the 5 contractors who bid on the project in October 2014. So we are on track to receive bids with a pre-bid conference June 21st, and then receipt of bids on June 28th. Anticipating that the board would approve that quickly, we would send it to the state, get all the paperwork cleared, and hopefully be able to start on the site, start with the site prep work around August 1. Included this is a best case, I called it, for lack of a better title, best case construction schedule for fall 2018 occupancy. I know there's a number of things that have to happen in order for this schedule to be achieved, some actions that this board has to take, but this just shows you that we're on the edge of that happening. If everything fell into place, we basically have to advance with this site package and move immediately into a construction package, allowing us about 18 months to complete the project, and anticipating a move-in in fall of 2018. So that's the last slide of the presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Can you go back one, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, seems to me like one of the key things we're going to have to decide is, what does that make our deadline with Judge Heikkila? And I think we could establish a timeline at this point. And our target for Judge, I mean, she's going to do what she's going to do.
Let's say, do we really have the?
We don't have the authority, but we can
can't
say,
defer a deadline.
yeah, to not lose a year, we're seeking a decision by December 1.
Well, the last time
I understand that. I'm just saying, but
I don't anticipate that you would have a court order to allow you to start construction.
But this is something we need to pass on to them, that to not lose this year. That we would be seeking, in our discussion with the plaintiffs, I would believe we would make sure they're aware of that. I think
think that's the key thing, is not on there, but that's the key. Because we don't have the authority to do this chart. We're doing site on our own risk. We don't have the authority to do this chart.
So Frank, where was your special ed meeting? I didn't, it seems like when we saw it before, we thought it was him, but.
Yeah, you know, right, we had met, and you had made an excellent suggestion about relocating it, and we did implement that change. Tommy, is it possible to go back to the floor plan? The overall one, a couple more back.
You show us one.
That one. The special ed is this area right here. It's not shown, but there's a drop-off canopy here. And then that connects directly up to athletics here, and then very close by to the cafeteria.
Thank you.
So what you have labeled as a common area, that is in fact a cafeteria?
That's right. That's right.
On the core permit, is there a scenario to where we could avoid these particular areas? And how realistically close are we on getting that permit?
Johnny and Chris, you want to address that?
You know, so we applied for the core permit. The core permit is the one that's allowing us to put in our stream crossings and fill in the wetland areas that we've talked about. So we have applied for that permit. If they respond, or it has to be following 30 days of comments if they have any. So we are under a half-acre disturbance of wetlands and stream crossings, so it should follow just the general permit process.
It's the most permissive permit that we could go for.
And so it should follow just a typical process there, and I don't see any hiccups as far as related to doing those wetlands.
One of our recent updates was, if I remember right, they were going to try to claim that little agricultural pond. Did that come and go, or?
We went back out and did some additional testing out there, and they got them to agree with us that that is not jurisdictional waters. They are not taking jurisdiction of that pond, so that's.
Good news. So my takeaway from your presentation is, with the program you're presenting and, you know, current numbers, taking out athletics, we're in the doable
Yes,
category.
that's correct.
Within our budget.
Yes.
If,
With potential $2 million contingency or other project use on site.
Right.
Did that include the planing and seeding of the athletic areas, or it's just going to be dirt?
No, I think that would get the rough grading of everything on site, and get everything cleaned up, but not necessarily irrigated with turf and playing surfaces.
Right. That's why I said planing.
It would have its basic ball field level, but it just wouldn't be play ready. But it would have a neat appearance.
And all the athletics you laid in are compliant with the AHAA dimensional rule?
Yes.
Foul territories on ball fields,
Yes.
softball and baseball?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking you won't have to water the baseball field.
I'm sorry?
I'm thinking you won't have to water the baseball field.
I would, just to reinstate or support a number, we're looking at the November 1st, 2016 bid for that value. And if we look at last year's rate, we estimated 4.5% for the index. So if you look at that number, we're at another $1.5 million if we go past November. If there's a bid date, special date. That's been
300K for it.
Will the site work package include, in its scope, respreading of topsoil in these areas? Moore's Mill Intermediate kind of ended up being a mess, and that kind of where they hauled off a bunch of topsoil, and I kind of wish they would have spread it. It would have given a lot better finished product.
We'll discuss that site package a little bit,
Yeah, the site package is, this is a little bit different from the scope of the site package that we bid back in October of 14. This site package is just to create the building pad itself. The other package did the entire site.
Okay.
And this one's to get us a pad so it'll be ready for a contractor to move on site. So Brad, is topsoil an issue in that configuration?
But it did account for all the roads and all the paving and building up all of that as well, right? It did account for all the access roads and all of the paving and building that?
No, it's just, in this phase, it's just the access from Pettus, right? It's just the access road from Pettus and the building pad.
So this price did not include the roads and paving?
No, the total price does include it, but.
That was why I was asking the total price.
Yes.
Okay.
Total price would include all the access roads.
Has the commission agreed to do turn lanes on Waltriana across from that Walmart, and are they gonna add a turn lane on Pettus, and what are they gonna do in the middle of Pine Grove?
That's, we have questioned the commission on that. Carrie and I met with county engineer Richard Grace, and I think Brett has had numerous conversations. It is not clear what they intend to do, and they have not committed, I think, to any improvements to the road network.
They do recognize that lane, they've got 4 lanes, egress acceleration lanes, and also turn lane.
They are asking us for additional right-of-way on Pine Grove for an improvement, but I don't know if that's on the schedule to happen, or if it's funded, or what the status of that is.
Waltriana is a state road, so that
Or it?
I think it is.
No,
It's county.
county.
So, and in the traffic circle, are they intending to put that all on school property, or are they gonna go across the route into the Pettus
I think it would
property?
take,
I mean, not Pettus,
looks to me like it would take
Stender.
just a quarter of it would come out of school property.
yeah, and the rest is gonna be, okay, that's their problem, not ours, but. Wouldn't a stoplight work better? Teenagers with the traffic circle right there?
The traffic circle, I think, was just mentioned, that you were there, right, with me. I think that was just mentioned kind of as an aside. It might be kind of on their dream list. I'd be surprised to see it happen.
Yeah. You get into that conversation again and remind them, a lot of that traffic is teenagers.
We, in previous conversations, 2014, they were looking at $250,000 their part on doing some of the road work, even though road work cost more than $250,000. And also, at that time, they mentioned giving some money, some funds for the site work itself. But I made a request and I got a response from these companies about what they will off the road on the site.
So we have gone back and asked them for their specific inputs on this plan.
No, I made that request about 6 weeks ago. I think it was, last time I spoke to you about, we got the funds, helping out, road work side.
When we bid this last time, there was quite a bit of off-site borrow that was required. Is that still the case?
That is not the case. We made some adjustments to the plan that eliminated that need. I think at that time we had a configuration with the auditorium extending toward the east, toward Pettus, with it facing Pettus, and that was causing a lot of that off-site material. I think we have, right now, we're anticipating no off-site material. I think provided we don't run into any
That's a
dirt
first.
that's unusable.
dirt.
Bad
Bad
dirt.
Bad dirt, bad dirt.
I never knew about bad dirt.
Are we still berming the south side next to the bend? At one point, we had talked, Carrie, do you remember, we were gonna berm
I do.
the very south boundary next to the bend, so that isolated the site, noise and traffic from that neighborhood.
We're sitting about to the first road, first pavement, about 25 feet off, I believe still. But we actually sit below grade level because some of the adjustments when we moved on forward was to try to come a little bit lower, trying to save dirt. And in doing so, what we'll do is we'll put in, try to get through line hedgerows. Won't be as much of a berm.
Yeah, there's really not a berm there because those properties at the bend will sit above the parking lot elevation of the school.
Okay.
But we have a substantial buffer there. I think that ranges 20 to 30 feet to be able to develop as a landscape buffer.
And so we'll just hedge it out. Okay.
Is this timeline within, is that something we're in charge of, or are the plaintiffs and the DOJ in charge of this timeline?
Yes, the judges. That's why I said we can request a decision by 1 December.
Is that question?
Well, I'm just asking, I mean, common sense says we need to move ahead because we're losing money every day we don't. Money that
Yeah.
we don't have. So, are they gonna, I did run in on the conference call, are they gonna work with us?
We plan to have a submission ready to them by the middle to the end of July. And from there, there's a lot of factors we have to meet. And they basically insinuated us they would get that, and then they would make improvements. And then we would go from there. That's in general how that went.
Okay. So the answer is no, we're not in charge. No. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
So you're gonna do a mass grading package and then bring in a general contractor that will have all of the rest of the grading and the building.
That's right.
Part of that.
That's correct.
So I would assume the building part, you're gonna be cutting, and you're gonna have quite a bit of stockpile is kind of the game plan, and then I guess you'll topo that maybe for the general.
We would topo that, have an as-built that would be part of the bid documents for the building construction.
So you're only putting in that drive off of Pettis in that first phase, so all construction traffic will be coming into the entrance, aligned with the entrance of the elementary school across the street.
Wouldn't you be better off taking it off Waltrana?
No, it would be coming, the construction entrance would be off of Pettis, is that correct, Brett? Yeah.
Good.
The Wall Triana would add several hundred feet to the,
No, I
Yeah.
understand that. I'm just thinking in terms of the trucks and all that, with that, especially with that S curve.
there's probably not that much on and off the site traffic, right? Because we're not moving dirt on and off the site. We're
Oh, okay.
putting the
I'm
machines
thinking
on
of
there.
300 or
Yeah.
400 truckloads.
No. The machines will move on there and stay on the site.
Okay, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Until at 3:30 when they get off of work for the day, and they all come out there together, trying to get home.
But the elementary school will be gone.
That's true. Hopefully they won't be leaving at 3:30. Well, it get dark at 8, 8:30.
Yeah.
That was an excellent update, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. All right, thank you. All right, Carrie Wilkerson will now presentation of our capital plan with maintenance projects for the 2017 through 2021.
Yeah, Tommy, do you have that on there? This capital / maintenance plan, all right, thank you. This plan, as you notice, a little bit different than what we've done in the past. This has our capital and our maintenance issues on here, our large maintenance issues. In the past, we didn't do anything under $50,000 because the state requires capital plans to have $50,000 and over. So everything under 50 we left off. So this plan right here, when you see it resubmitted for a capital plan to the state, if it's under 50,000, we'll drop those items off the list to submit there. But as we look real quick, I believe the board had asked previously about how many plant manager work orders we had, how many school dude work orders we had. We have roughly 3,200 in the last 12 months for plant manager work orders and 1,700 school dude work orders. And I have that available, and I'll be glad to email it to anybody who wants a copy of that package, and just shows what we've done over the past 12 months. But all of those work orders are all reactive and not, well, some of the plant managers are proactive, but it's mostly reactive as the school's going on. Anytime we have a problem, whether it's mechanical, heat, air, whatever, breaking the windows, whatever the case may be, that's what school dudes for. They call us out and go make the repairs. So that's mostly all reactive. And then on the capital plan, you'll see that's the proactive work we do. Anyway, here looking on the first page, starting at item number 4 to 15, they're highlighted in red. That is the $3.5 million we received for refinancing those bonds a couple months back. First column is what we propose priority 2017 through 2021. Your second column is 2016 to 20. That's what we did last year. So that kind of gives you an idea of where it sat last year as priority and where it sits this year. I'm not going to run through this whole list, but I'm going to just run through 4 through 15 here because there's a couple items we really need to get on with. Item 4 is a roof. I got these prices. Steve Warren Associates, they're the engineers we use to do all of our roof designs. Give us a price that's $25 a square foot for metal, $15 for a modified bid or a flat roof. That's where these prices come from. So at Owens Crossroads, we're looking at $1.1 million, and you can read that. New Hope, $520,000, and Hazel Green, $300,000. Item 7, the virtual school. It's going to be held next door in the Career Academy, but we're taking one of the classrooms. It's a very large. It's 2 old classrooms put together. We're putting in a mechanical system. We're upgrading it, working on some lights, just doing a few things in there. And it's roughly $42,000. We think that number may cut down to $35,000. We're going to try to do most work ourselves, but we got to buy the mechanical equipment. Item 8, Harvest Elementary School. That had been on the capital plan for years and years to convert. When we built the new lunchroom, we agreed to convert the old lunchroom into classrooms or a media center, and an old media center to classrooms. And we're doing that currently, trying to get that started and going. They gained 2 units this year, Harvest did. We'd like to pick up those 2 classrooms. It's a good time to do it. And the worst media center we have currently in the district sits at Harvest, so we think we can correct all these issues with this project. And for $48,000 to gain 2 classrooms and revamp the media center, that's a great deal. Item 9, this is something that's gym bleacher repair. This is for 7 schools. What's happening, we noticed when we did the insurance, or when Dan did the insurance, they got to start insuring the bleachers. One thing is they're going to, and at some point, probably what, the next 2-3 years, you think, Dan, require a structural engineer to come in and review every bleacher at every school, indoor and outdoor, give you a report, and if it's not safe, you'll probably quit using it that day, and then upgrade it. And I'm talking, well, you'll notice I have 3 phases on here for bleacher repair. The first phase I have in here is just some gymnasium bleachers that we need repaired this summer and this fall before the season starts. And then you'll notice there's phases 2, 3, and 4, and we're talking over $1 million worth of bleacher repairs countywide. Yes, sir, it is. Yeah, let me. Madison County Elementary, Central, Meridianville Middle, New Hope Middle, Sparkman Middle, Buckhorn High, Large Gym, and Sparkman High School.
Gary, this is part of the fire code.
Yep.
And when they came and did their inspection, they gave us a pass on it this year, and said don't expect one next year. So what they expect us to do is hire somebody to inspect every set of bleachers, outdoor and indoor, annually, and make sure they're up to the NFPA fire code.
Now,
Which is,
at Sparkman Middle, are you talking about the indoor bleachers?
Just indoor right now. This is only indoor gym bleachers right now. Yeah, I realize we got outdoor bleachers there with issues.
Well,
We had a,
there's a fix for that that's not very expensive. However,
yeah.
um,
Facilistar gave us a price on these. They actually make repairs. You have to be certified, licensed, bonded to do bleacher repair. Because I looked at trying to see if we could certify one of our men in maintenance. It just can't happen. It's too many hours of training, find somebody to insure it, and then you're still responsible as a school system. So this is an item that we need to put out, we need to bid, and we need to repair at least these 7 schools to begin with. Beyond that, we're looking at the next item is New Market. New Market, the kids go outside you take kindergarten kids, they go outside every day to the lunchroom and every day to the gymnasium. It's the only location we have that. We fixed the situation at Madison County Elementary School. We've tied in Central School one time when they had to go outside of the lunchroom or hit an airway. So that's the only place we really have left that creates a situation when we need to, other than New Hope's location, but that's for the gymnasiums.
last time we discussed capital plan, corridors was just like way up here. We had to do it. We had to do it. And now they've done what they do every time. They kind of slid back down the list.
No, and you're exactly right. It was number 7 last time, and it's bumped all the way down to 10. But it's a situation on these roofs. The roofs deteriorate at a rate we can't keep up with.
But
And
those roofs was an issue last time.
Yeah, and they were. You'll notice they were on. They're a big item, and they're a big problem. We're causing damage inside the school in those roofs. And then we keep patching them, but that's just my thought is they ought to be repaired, and then we get out of that problem. Next item, Lynn Fanning, public sewer system. Right now, we're on septic tanks out there. We have 3 septic tanks that sit on that site that service that school. We have a sewer line that runs right in front of the school right now from Moore's Mill that we paid to tie on at Moore's Mill, but now that sewer line runs down in front of the school. And so for about $30,000, we could put a couple pumps in, a few lines, and we think we can feed all of our wastewater to that treatment plant. And then at that point, we'd start serving a monthly fee. So that's, right now we don't pay any monthly fee, but we do take a risk. We carry a permit that costs us money every 5 years, but we take a little bit of a risk just having those septic tanks.
At one time, that was going to be done in parallel with the Moore's Mill.
That was correct. We didn't, it was going to cost us this amount of money even when we did it. But we're just going to go ahead and hook it on at the same time we did Moore's Mill. But if you remember correctly, they kept holding us up on Moore's Mill, and we ended up having a pump. We had to pay ourselves for pumping it out and taking it off site for about the first 3 weeks of school that was open. And so in turn, we didn't hook up here until we got ready to hook up because it's $30,000. And we're still working. When we unloaded all those kids off that Lynn Fanning campus, we quit having as many issues, but we still have a few issues every now and then. But we're having a lot of issues when Lynn Fanning had twice the kids on the campus.
So we weren't able to back charge the sewer company for that pump?
No.
I thought we'd already done the Lynn Fanning deal.
Yeah. Item 12, Monroeville Elementary School, renovation to the pod. We visited the pod again today. It may be moving a little bit more. It still looks like the structure itself, the columns, the steel, all appears to be fine, but the floor seems to be sinking a little bit more.
So did that go up?
It went up a little bit.
Wasn't it like 375 or?
It sure was. It was 375. Just not with it still moving, we thought we were done with this movement.
I thought we pumped under it and stabilized.
We core drilled it, and what we thought at that time that we were stable. We thought that was the end of the movement, and I don't know what's happened now. So we'll have to get another structural engineer out to re-drill it. And it might be a situation, we had the exact same pod built by the same contractor in the same year down at New Hope middle school. When we removed that pod, we found everything from washing machines to tires to
Underneath it?
underneath it. So I have a feeling this might have been a little bit of a dump or something, and they just poured a slab across it, and then as that stuff settles and deteriorates, yeah,
How many square feet is that?
that pod, 9 classrooms, it's probably, I'm just guessing here, probably about 14,000.
Oh, I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But it's 9 classrooms?
9 classrooms, and then also has some office space, workroom, adult restrooms, teacher restrooms.
You're not, yeah, you said.
Yeah, and it's a really, it has a new roof on it, and the mechanical system and roof are both only about 7 years old, I think, now.
When we poured that, did we not find some wood in
We
that
did.
floor?
We did in one of them, sure did.
There's your clue.
There's where
There's your first clue.
erosion, your deterioration's coming from.
We didn't know with the movement, it maybe deteriorated, and then the water, the plumbing, maybe was washing underneath with we cut it off for a while. But without taking a section of it out or doing a whole lot more pours, we don't know what's underneath that slab. But then we'll have to come back in there and take down some walls, put up some sheetrock walls to make repairs. But it's a good space. It's got a lot of classrooms in it.
It's just dropping.
It's just dropping. So I did add $50,000 to it just because we're unsure what's in there. And we might get away with a $150,000 fix. But until we do some destructive investigation, we don't know what's underneath it.
So what's that gonna buy us? I mean, when you say renovate, what are you gonna do?
We're going to bring the slab back up, pour it back in place. All the walls that are cracked, we're going to tear them down, put sheetrock back up. And other than that, it's a pretty good pot. I mean, we'll have to fix the floor in those areas because it's terrazzo. So we have to lay tile floor, paint the walls, install new ceilings. The ceilings are starting to dip. When the wall sinks, the ceilings dip. So it's quite a bit. I mean, it's almost just like gutting it, at least gutting about a third to a half of that pot area and taking it all down to the ground.
You are gonna take it all the way down to the ground.
Oh, yes.
Wherever
Yes,
that
ma'am.
might be.
We're not just paving over it, right?
Well, no, we're not going to patch anything. We're going to take it out and figure out what's underneath it.
Bad dirt.
Bad dirt.
Bad stuff added to bad dirt.
Yeah, stuff added to bad dirt. Yeah, we were shocked when we found that underneath that other pod. Item number 13, AC power and UPS for data and voice closets, and that's just phase 1 of 4, and that's just a budget number. I really don't know what all, Tommy, they need as they keep adding more servers and putting more heat in these closets, and some of them are working, some aren't. We keep attacking one at a time, but it's just really slow getting them what they need. So that's a budget number for us to get started and start adding air conditioning and start adding additional power. You're taking UPSs are much larger this year, is that right, coming in?
Correct.
Yeah. And so we're going to bring extra power in to those closets, so it's a budget to get that started. Number 14 has not been on the list. It's replace the special needs playground surface at Mount Carmel. The principals are responsible for their own playgrounds, always. This was the first one we put in 2001. It's guaranteed 10 years. It's been 17. It's in horrible condition. It should have been worked on in some previous years. But now they're at a situation where to put those special needs children out there in wheelchairs and walkers and stuff, and they have gaps that are 1.5 inches, 2 inches wide in between some of the surfacing tiles, and it's just not acceptable. It just needs to be repaired. And she doesn't have the money. The school's putting every bit of money they have towards it, which would be about $12,000 at this point. And she's been real good to go out and talk to legislators and try to get more money. But it's a situation that we probably need to help assist to make it safer. And I don't think we should get in the playground business, but she inherited this situation. It's just where it is.
Well, kids have to be safe.
The last item, number 15, this is for the air conditioning for the special needs wing. I'm not sure. We may not, this project here, we encounter some high humidity levels in that special needs wing this spring, and so we don't know why. We had about 4 years ago, we made some repairs and fixed it, but it appears it might be back. If it is, we need to add big dehumidifiers in there and stuff to create the better air quality. If the repairs we made last and work well for the next month, we won't have to. But I think we need to, this is also a special needs wing, we just need to be aggressive and have it on the budget, so if we need to make these repairs and get a nice air conditioning system in there, and to do so.
Is the special needs wing at Hazel Green Elementary, is that in the old part, not the part that we completely redid?
That's a good point Jeff brings up, because we built at Hazel Green Elementary, and everything was new except for the lunchroom and the gymnasium, which was built just a couple of years before. But we did keep one of the old buildings, because it had a good 11 classrooms and restrooms in it, and it's on the southeast corner of the campus.
And that's what this is?
That's what this is. And we didn't do, so we haven't done any renovations we did a little bit of renovation when we built the new school, but not a lot of work to this. You notice I also have on there for the roof system. The roof system may be causing some of our moisture problems. We think we're getting water between the layers of the modified bit, which creates a situation where the water pushes down when it vaporizes instead of going out the roof.
What's the relationship of these classrooms to that old gym that was gutted and turned into ROTC or whatever?
Yeah, no relation. It's on actually on the opposite end of the elementary campus.
Okay.
Sure, that building is right at 30 years old. I remember it was built in '86.
Yeah.
So this was outside the scope of the Snyder project?
Right, yes.
Was
They-
not included?
Right, we actually had on the Snyder project, we had this listed and also Hazel Green High School second floor mechanical. If we had enough money, these were the next two projects that were on their list, but we ran short on money. Anyway, that's looking at the 3.5 million. You can see some of the things when you start at items number 16. That was last year's number 5, number 6, number 3, just kind of bumped down. I probably should mention a few, item number 18, which is last year's item number 3. We call out for security improvements to include doors, safety, glass, gates, enhanced hardware. Remember that used to be our item number 3, and with Dan's work, he's gotten all the schools key cards. So all carded, and it's working great. Actually, it's working real great. So that's been a huge, huge safety item we put in place. But we'd like to have this on here because it'd still be nice to have, we put some film on some glass out here at Summit Central that was done for free by a contractor. It's supposed to be bulletproof, so we're looking at some film, better door hardware. There's some doors that are probably 50 years old on some of these campuses that don't take a whole lot of running over to just run in the door. And so we want to secure our doors, we want to secure our lobbies a little bit, that's some additional gates, film, and that's what item number 18 is. We're safe today, but I think as we get money available, it'd be nice to improve these areas. And from there, it's just a list of, we've got 101 items that need to be done. We have 81 items that really should be done this year. And
In years past, we've had about 40.
yes.
Now we've got 101. What's the change in philosophy?
2 reasons. One is, y'all made a request, you'd like to see the large kind of maintenance items. So everything you see on this list that's under $40,000 has never been on the list before, number one. And then the previous superintendent preferred, unless there's a request for some change, to keep the same capital plan. And so Mr. Massey wanted to know everything we think's wrong with the system, let's put it on the list and review it.
Well, I think it's good. I mean, I think it lets everybody know what our needs are around the county. I think we should have been doing this all along, but
Yeah, yes, sir. I think it's going to be a good idea, and it shows that we have $134 million we need today for classroom needs. And then if we include athletic needs, which are real important, we're over $200 million we need today.
Well over half of which could be solved by a specific new revenue source.
Exactly. It would
Karen's
really.
not here, so I'll plug in.
Yeah, a new revenue source would fix our issues.
I'd like for us to communicate the items that would be categorized as parking lot improvements, exterior drainage improvements, like, for example, 21, 23, 35, 45, 67, 75. Communicate those to the district commissioners.
Yes.
They do have the manpower and resources to help with that and do all the time. I think we,
No.
in
Yeah, you brought up a great point, Dan, that, and some commissioners work better than others. I do know item number 21, that commissioner's offered to come out and help us, and he's looking at it. We're buying some equipment, but we think he's gonna cut the ditches for us. But I would like to, and you bring that up, item number 61 at my Renville Middle School, that special needs canopy and buses. You'll notice I still have an item on there for $25,000, and that is because in an ideal world, we'd love to put a canopy for the bus to pull under when it's raining. Right now, we're gonna pay for a canopy to extend it all the way down. And as a child reaches, or they let the handicap ramp down, it should go underneath that canopy, but we like them when the buses pull under when we have additional money. So these children are gonna do great, but Mr. Jones, Roger Jones, can't say enough good about him. I mean, we only spent $3,900. He did the gravel, he did the paving, we got a bus loop in, we got extending canopy, we got sidewalk. It's really, I mean, it's really nice.
Do you intend to pour, between now and the time school starts, a grass gap between the asphalt and the concrete?
Yes, sir.
I think Joe's already got that on his list to do, one where the front of the bus would be where they would walk off, and one where the wheelchair comes down and rolls off.
Yeah.
That's already got a contractor lined up to take care of that.
What happened with the priority of what you've got labeled this year, number 42, when it was 19 last year? Why did that fall so much?
No other reason than really, I think, looking at the priorities, getting that second floor in, our biggest problem is cooling, and so hopefully when we start cooling that second floor, we're gonna push enough air down that it helps cool the first floor. And if that works out, that's great. We hope it does. It's just looking at the priorities, and I think they're all listed 2017, and they're all in 1 through 81. It's really hard to say that one's more important than the other, but somewhere they got to be given a number.
Well, I had a number.
Yeah, it did have a number. Yeah, but there's additional things that.
You may have already discussed this with Ms. Bates, but like 51, when we walk through that building, that seems huge to me, if that is a real need. So what is the status of that?
It's safe. Yeah, the floors they seem to give with you a little bit, but structurally, as far as your timbers and your beams and everything and your footings, they're fine. They are. We have two schools where the floors, they're older and they're wood-based, and they seem to give a little bit or you walk across them, but it's not a situation where a floor is going to fall in.
That's good to know.
Yeah. But that's also in next year's 2017 wish list, but may not get there.
Speaking of falling in, the building is falling in Monrovia. Why does insurance not come into play with that?
I don't know that, and I guess maybe if it's a sinkhole, it might. I don't know if it will for a garbage dump, but it might if it's a sinkhole.
No schools have coverage for any kind of a sinkhole. It's not available. Basically, they cover, natural disasters, fire, that type of thing. But as far as the actual, where we have poor construction and didn't do what we were supposed to do and the building falls in, it's on us, unfortunately.
I would like on these numbers, though, if you see a priority that you feel like should move up or down somewhere, if you shoot me an email and let me readjust. And it's a shame they're all important. It's just figuring out where to put them.
Well, I know that when we did the improvements at Madison County Elementary, we could build that new wing for less than it would have cost to do the improvements that we had on the list. And I wonder if that is not true at Newmarket.
We need a new roof at Newmarket. We need a new floor. That's the only school we have that still has paneling in it. And the reason is, it won't hold the weight of the sheetrock on those floors. And that was a report we submitted to the state in 2001. And it's just, so it still has paneling. Now, one thing I got to say, we practice, we do great, everything's going fine up there. I have no worries about any child getting hurt. It's just not what we want to design anymore and have pending in classrooms. But we can't add any sheetrock to it. It won't take it away. But I think we reviewed it, looking at their restroom facilities being built. What year was that? What year the main building was built?
The main building now?
Yeah,
1939.
39. I couldn't remember 35, 39.
It had its upgrade in 76, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So it's really not that old then.
Right.
But that's a situation where I think you would come out better, taking that building down, and then you could join all the buildings together. And,
Kerry, let me just weigh in there, because when we had the rock gym, the WPA gym, you came in, took all the insides out, left the external walls, and redid that, and that is a absolute wonderful space. Great job. I don't think we could have built new for that.
No.
And that's what I would like to see, and I think the community out there would like to see, is basically, whether you do it a wing at a time, gut it down to the ground, build it back up, or leave the outside structure the way it is.
that school's, it's special. It's got a lot. But it also has 2 rooms in, they're not basement rooms. They have an outdoor exit. They have windows. But we have no elevator access to those rooms. There's a few things on here as you read through, also like item number, let's see where, 19, New Hope High School. Lavelle's here tonight. How you doing, Bill? We're doing an attendance office modification where he's going to be able to bring, if you've been to New Hope High School, you park around back behind the school, the kids do. What percentage park behind the school?
Oh, about 8%.
So 80% of the kids park behind the school, and they have to walk all around the school to come in the front door every time. So Lavelle had this good idea, and so he's turning a back office area, and we're going to have a back entrance. That's going to be the attendance area. And we have $20,000 allotted for it. We're doing the work, and it looks like we're going to get out of there in about $13,000. And they'll have a nice way to get all their kids in and out of school during the day. So that item, it'll drop off next year. But there's a few items on here we're working on currently that we should have finished this summer. Anyway. All right. I would like to bring this back on at least on the $3.5 million. Or I'd rather bring it back on the whole packet and get it approved.
Okay, but approving the capital plan doesn't include any expenditure of the $3.5 million on this project. It still says unfunded. Right?
Well, until somebody, yes, right,
Okay.
yeah. But and we do need to get a capital plan, of course, approved there in August at the latest. And it'll read just a little bit different than this plan here. I'll take all the items under 50,000 off this list to submit to the state. It'll be a different plan we submit to the state than we actually accept.
So what are you looking for us to approve, the 30th?
I would like to approve items 4 through 15. And then, of course, I'll come back with every one of those with a contract and
As funded?
as funded, as the $3.5 million funded.
From the bond.
When we redid the
I
bond?
understand the source.
I'd like to prove so we can proceed with getting some of those repairs made.
I'm sure Mr. Weeks would too. You too?
And even if there's a situation where if there's an item on there that you don't want to approve.
Now, my point is, going back to what Frank said about the high school project, is that it did include some of the basics which we included in every single school we built. Computers, and other things like that, which have been put into every single new school we built. So before we spend all $3.5 million here, we need to address some of the standards that we put in new schools in the high school project. That's where I'm going. So I'd like to see the price of the unfunded things that were not included in those, the specific pricing of those that are part of the basic school package and everything we built. Classroom computers, teachers' computers, everything. Before we spend $3.5 million on those.
Okay. And that's the question.
I think your item number 4 would be the unpriced items that are part of new construction in this county.
Okay.
understand what I'm saying, Mr. Superintendent?
Are you saying you want the bond resale basically to go completely outfit the new school rather than some of the upgrades?
No,
that we
that's
need?
not what I'm saying. I don't know what the prices are, but you're not gonna build a school.
We'll say it's
not-
$2 million for furniture and computers.
Well, when did we build a school? We haven't built a school. We haven't upgraded a school. Where the classrooms, when we walked away from the construction project, weren't furnished and didn't have computers. We haven't done that. Why are we starting now?
The last two schools we did.
Which
We-
ones?
We brought, from Moore's Mill in Madison County, we brought furniture from Original, Hazel Green, and Madison County.
Fine, but they were furnished.
With used furniture, yes, sir.
I didn't say it had to have new furniture.
Yes, sir.
But we need to have a furnishing plan, and if there's not enough furniture to furnish it, then we finish it off and add new furniture. That's what I'm saying. Let's complete the project to the standard that we've established for other new projects. There was a not insignificant list of items not funded. You're telling me we plan on building a high school with 0 computers in it, and then we're gonna turn around here and do a virtual classroom upgrade. That priority's wrong.
Well, I've been saying all along, we don't have the funding to fully put everything in that high school it needs.
I disagree. We
So,
did, but we've chosen
but
now
what
to
we
divert
can't do
funding to
is
other
stop for
things.
3 years when we have, and I'm maybe speaking for I'll speak for the schools themselves. There are needs that have not been met. We have students in schools and kids in schools and principals and teachers that need vital needs. You know, we have, you know, we're gonna have the same amount of students when we open that new school as we do the year before, unless there's a growth in there. There's the same amount of desks that we have. You know, I don't support putting this off until, you know, we can get a price on all those things. That's not an issue, but, you know, with the incidental cushion of the budget there, you know, hopefully everything will come in under budget and then we can use that to fill that need.
Yeah, I'm not asking for anything additional on the project.
But
I'm
just to
saying,
say,
let's
just
make
to
sure
do
we
one of
open
these
it to
things,
the
it's my
standard.
plan to use that $3.5 million to fund the projects that are highlighted in red.
And
That's what I would like to propose. And in concordance, we'll also get an estimate of what it would be fully furnished and then what we can, you know, and what we
first of
can
all, you're
do
gonna
try
have to
get
do
by.
that as part of the submission to DOJ next month anyway. You're going to have to include, how are you going to fully furnish that school?
Yeah, but then we're also gonna have to talk about what is Sparkman gonna look like after that too? And is it gonna be equitable?
Understand?
Is it gonna be the same thing? Are we gonna buy Sparkman new computers and new furniture too?
You don't have to do that.
And so, or do you split Sparkman's furniture in half, or do you send Sparkman's furniture over? I mean, you've got a lot of scenarios to play out there, but in the meantime, we've got kids walking outside to go to lunch and PE every day. We've got a special needs unit at Hazel Green Elementary that doesn't have adequate air conditioning. We can just go down the list here. We've got an elementary school at Monrovia that's basically condemned, the whole section. We need power in our closets to run our IP and everything that's going digital. We've got a special needs playground surfacing that is decrepit. You know, there's more than the $43 million wouldn't even cover all the needs that we have. And I hate that the county commission picked one night not to come to a meeting from the last 3 months to see all the needs that we have. And I don't know, maybe they got what they needed from the last few meetings to attend, that they're, you know, satisfied with where we are. But I'm not, and I'm not willing to settle and compromise on taking $3 million and trying to spread it around our other 28 schools that have been neglected.
Well, then, you know, every time we go through this capital plan, it changes. We had security upgrades way up here at the top, now they're down here because we did them
Because
for
we
cheaper.
fixed it.
Because we did them cheaper than what we come up with $1 million. We've moved New Hope's corridor down way past the unfunded.
It's the first thing that would be funded after this.
Yeah, but it was at the top. It was number 5 last time.
It was, and so we're in reevaluating that, and we've got $1.1 million going to Owens Crossroads roofing. You know, it's kind of like picking which digit of your finger is more important. You know, I mean, we need to be able to fill all of these A's, and we took a restock of what right now is the most important thing. It would be really easy to never change the capital plan and just keep it the same thing and never reevaluate.
That
That's
was
kind
your
of what
capital
has
plan.
been done.
That was your capital plan that we were talking about.
That didn't get approved. That did not get approved.
But most of it got
That is
taken,
what I
it got taken
presented
care of.
to not build the new school, to redistribute and to make upgrades in there. That's what was presented, but it wasn't approved.
Jeff, are you just asking that Carrie provide us with what we put in every other new high school that we built?
Every other school that we built, elementaries, high schools, and the middle schools, and we built Buckhorn Middle, when we upgraded the classrooms at Hazel Green High, I mean,
But
every.
that's what you're asking, that he provide us with that?
Yeah,
so
I'm.
we'll have some idea.
We haven't built a classroom without a computer in it. Usually they have 2. Yet that list said we didn't include computers in the pricing. Why? Why did we drop that suddenly? You know,
Because computer labs aren't the way they were 10
that's not a
years
computer
ago,
lab. That's
Jeff.
not what it said.
Right now, these kids are bringing in their technology the next year.
And our
better than
our
what we
teachers
can
don't need
bring in.
computers.
So we don't have traditional just computer labs where 30 PCs are sitting in a classroom.
Frank,
So
was those
there's-
classroom computers or were computer labs? What were they?
There were no computers in
So none of our teachers would have computers, right?
not in that price.
Right
Right.
now, we have teachers that don't have computers. They're having to bring their own laptops. That's why we have BYOD for our teachers. We can't even go one-to-one with our own teachers right now because we can't give them devices they need.
Okay.
So I agree. We
Carrie, I
need
want a
that.
straight answer. Right? What's it cost to build this up to the standard of the other projects we've done? That wasn't what we saw today.
Yes, sir. A rough estimate, not knowing exactly what a computer costs now, to bring in computers, are we also talking, and I'm just asking a question.
I don't know.
We have the
Are we
same.
talking about-
What do we do in the rest of the project where we built or upgraded in the last 5 years? And yes, Ms. Stowe, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yes, sir, we did computers, we did
I'm not addressing the
Dining room tables.
athletics or any of that. I'm just saying the basic standard teaching environment. Why are we planning on not building that in that school? Because we want to do things like this with the $3 million. And it could be taken care of by getting rid of the athletics and that $1 million contingency. I don't know. But the problem is we don't know. And you're asking us to spend $3 million next month, when the single largest construction project this district's taken on in the last 20 years, I think I'm safe to say, and we have known unidentified costs that we could be pricing and adding on here. We're not having a full discussion. That's my point. The basic educational environment. No bells and whistles, no golden toilets. The basic educational environment. Why are we planning on not opening a school that works?
That's a great question, and that's what I asked the board, a year and a half ago. All right, any other comments on that?
You'll get that for us, right?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And so, and what the concept and what we were thinking is if we take half the English teachers from Sparkman and move them to the new school, their computers basically follow them. Unless we're gonna do, and the proposal will be everybody at the new school gets a new, all new technology. That would be the plan. All right, so, next up is, Mr. Cubic, our salary schedule. So what we have here, kind of leading into Mr. Cubic, is the state basically brought in a pay raise in this legislation that was a 4% raise, but at the end, right before it passed, they added in a 4% raise for assistant principals and principals, for those making, and others making 75,000 and under, and there's kind of it's kind of created some issues in the salary schedule and how the state did this. So Mr. Cubic is going to explain all that to us, and there's 2 options we can that'll be recommended to you this evening.
Okay. Mr. Massey's correct. When we started looking at the salary schedule, he had several different options, and after talking with the various other state districts and what they were doing, and input from the board and from policy review, and also from the AEA and the UNISERV directors, and we've taken all that, and Mr. Massey has tasked me with coming up with 2 plans. The first plan is what we sent to you earlier, and that's Plan A. And that proposal would be to do a flat 4% raise across the board for all classifications and for all employees, irregardless of the $75,000 cap that the legislation put on there. So that's option 1, and that's Plan A. The reason for doing this, the reason for selecting Plan A is I gave you 3 sheets, and they're color-coded. And I want to show you what the impact that the legislation, while we appreciate the raise because teachers have not gotten one and support employees have not gotten one for several years, what happens when they do a graduated raise like this. And this is the effects on having a 4% and a 2%. And what you see is the very first page, it's got our classification of certified employees, which is our teachers and our counselors. So when you take a raise and you have an employee that's on a step and they're somewhere around making 74.8 at step 18, and at a step 19 they go to 75.2, there may be only a $400 difference in that step, but when you go ahead and graduate to a 4% raise and a 2%, that step then becomes a decrease in salary. So if you look at the master's level, the very first one, and by the way, the yellow is problem areas, the blue is the amount of raise that would be, that staff would get under the 4%, 2%. A red shows where there would be a decrease in the step, and a green is the solution. And when we're going to talk about solution, that'll be in relation to Plan B. So if you look at the master's degrees, at step 17 for a 240-day employee, you see that with the 4%, they'll make $76,069. When you go to step 18, so 1 year of experience, they go to $77,852. That is an increase of $771. Okay, so we're moving right along. When you go to step 19, and on a teacher's salary schedule, when you're at step 19, you're at step 19 for year 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. You don't move on to step 20 until year 24. So you're going to be there for a 5-year period. You'll notice that they go from $77,852 at step 18. They will go down to $77,121. That is a decrease of $731. The teacher will take that hit on because of the 2% raise versus the 4% raise. They will lose $731 for that 5-year period. When they go into step 20, they go to $77,834. While that is a lot closer, it's still $18 less than what they made at step 18. And so they're going to sit at step 20 for years 24, 25, and 26. So 3 more years, they're going to be making less money than they were 7 years prior to that on that same scale. They don't actually move up and start making a positive income over what they were at step 18 until step 21, at which time they will go to $78,549. We have this problem in several bands on the salary schedule. Masters teachers that are on 240-day contracts, teachers with AAs and educational specialist degrees that are on 222-day contracts or on 240-day contracts. We have this similar issues with teachers that have doctorate degrees at 212-day contracts, 222-day contracts, and 240-day contracts. Along with, we have also this issue with a couple of our administrative ranks. The coordinator's position for certified, they have that problem in their steps, as well as the coordinators for support services, and also our social workers that are extended to 240 days. what generates a further problem is the Madison County Board of Education salary schedule. It says is reference to the principal salary schedule that a principal is, their salary is to be computed on a comparison of what the salary schedule says for a principal compared to the teacher at that same educational rank and years of service extended to 240 days. So the law says the principals are supposed to get a 4% raise. Well, the way we calculate the principal salary schedule, if the teacher's salary schedule is not calculated all the way to a 4% raise, you're going to have principals that will not be on the principal salary schedule, which is primarily our elementaries and one middle school. They're on the teacher salary schedule. So you're going to have some principals that are going to get a 4% raise, and you're going to have some principals that are going to get a 2% raise. And so that generates another problem. It actually affects 8 of our principals, 7 elementaries and 1 middle school. So that generates a further problem with the salary schedules. So after talking about this, and Mr. Massey checking with, what I believe I sent you guys a letter from Ms. Sims from the Uniserv director is what she advised, and talking with Mr. Massey, and he got some information from what the State Superintendent's Association, one of the superintendents sent out an email on listserv asking what was other systems doing, and out of the 37 that reported, I believe 33 of the 37 said that they were going to go with 4% across the board. So Mr. Massey has asked me to draft Plan A with the 4% across the board so that we treat all of our employees as equitably as possible. Okay? If you look at this same sheet, Plan B would be a proposal for basically implementing what the state law says. The problem with that is we cannot deduct someone's salary, so there are some solutions. And for instance, if you look at, in reference to the teacher analogy, which was the first one, as I told you, at step 19 they would lose $731. At step 20 they would lose $18. But on step 21 they would get an increase of $697. So the way we would approach this would be that we would take the $697 that is at that high end, and we divide it into thirds because there's 3 steps. So what we'd effectively do is give that position basically a $232 step increase for step 19, $232 for 20, and $233 to 21, which gets them to that $697. This works okay with some of these, but if you look at like the AA and EDS, where the 4%, 2% for 222 days, you'll notice that on step 19, they get a $769 raise. Now again, they're going to be at that step for 5 years, but every step for the rest of their career, they're going to lose money. Because at step 20, they're going to take an $832 pay cut. Excuse me, $832 pay cut to go to step 20, and then a $171 pay cut to go down to step 21. So they're going to be gaining experience, and they're going to be losing money annually. So the only way that we can fix this is to go ahead and basically eliminate step 20 and 21 and basically say at step 19, they earn $77,602. They will stay at that for the remainder of their career, irregardless of what they move up in steps. It's the only way we can do this where they don't lose money. That is the way it is handled on the doctorate at 212, the AA ADS at 222, and also with our support worker, our social worker. The 240-day social worker, that employee would go from 18 to 19, and they will take a $729 pay cut by implementing the 4%, 2% as legislation has dictated it. So we have some fixes. The green are basically the fixes, and it kind of shows you how we would do that. You'll notice like on, because of the way this is structured, for the AA EDS and a 240-day, between step 12 and step 13, they get a $3 increase. And then there are other places where we have to take the total raise of $36 and disperse it between 2 years, so look at a pay increase of $18 each of those years. And then there's another one of $72, and they would get $36 for 2 years consecutively. So you see the problem that was generated, and that's why you have the support of other systems going to the straight 4%, as well as even UNISERV directors writing letters on behalf of the employees, all employees, not just their members, to the boards, asking that a consideration of a 4%. And that's really the reasons why Mr. Massey has, is requesting or providing to you a recommendation of the 4% across the board to try and adjust the salary schedule so it's workable and it treats all of our employees equally. Do you have any questions?
So with the 4% raise,
Yes, sir.
we would be eliminating some of these, you know, the 20 and 21 steps?
With
Or
the,
we go or plumb around that?
the 4% raise, what would happen is that if you would look on Plan A, your Plan A, right here, if you would look on the AA EDS, which is on page, it's on page 5.
It's on page what?
On page 5. Make sure it says Plan A on the very top, right-hand corner. All right. On the way the law says it, at step 19, for 222 days, AA, they would make $77,602. At step 20, they would go down to $76,770, so a loss of $832. If you do the straight 4% across the board, on step 19, for a AA 222, they make $77,602, and at 20, they would make $78,276. So they would actually, instead of having a decrease, they would get an increase because the 4% would be calculated on what the current salary is at that point. So really, when you look at the 4%, they get a raise. When you look at the fix for the 4%, 2%, they wouldn't get a raise. And for the straight way the legislation has written it, they would take a decrease at step 20 and 21.
So we're not proposing what the state has, because we don't feel we could be opening ourselves up to some litigation if there's a decrease in pay without that. So neither plan is exactly what the state recommended, which was 4% for teachers less than 75,000, 2% above.
Well, that wasn't my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My question was, with the 4% raise,
Yes, sir.
are we talking about getting rid of step 20 and 21 in the AD, the AA and the?
No, sir.
Oh, you don't have to.
No, you would not have to do that, sir.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. I thought you were talking about how would it look on there.
I had tunnel vision, I'm sorry.
No, we would not, the 20 and 21 is basically under the bans from the state.
Gotcha. I'm with
So
you.
we're,
I'm with you.
the only other things that are both in Plan A and Plan B that I want to make you aware of is that on page 17, which is the bus driver's page, you can look at A or B, either one. This has nothing to do with the change, either one of those. You'll notice where it says the career technical on when we went ahead and, thanks, Tommy. If you notice up here, it says $10.09 per hour and $10.09 per hour on the activity. Those are not part of the base salaries, and those were mistakenly given the 4% raise. Those wouldn't be on there, so those will remain at $9.70, just like they are currently. That doesn't.
It's correct.
It's incorrect. It's correct on your handout, but on the scrolling agenda, when you looked at, I want to make sure that you understood that the 1009 is not correct. That was a miscalculation. It shouldn't have been put on there.
Still 970.
It's still 970, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it doesn't matter what A or B you're looking at, that will remain 970 because that's not part of their salary. That's a tack on, just like extracurricular or. And then on page 20, Catherine, can you scroll up? a little
Plan
bit?
A, Plan B.
Either one.
It doesn't matter, either one.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you where it's at right here. Scroll down, please, Tommy, a little bit. You'll notice here on the substitute, it says $197 a day for the certified subs. Okay, the certified sub is paid based off the bachelor's, step 0 at a bachelor's level. So we divide that out. So with the 4%, that 197 will change to 205. It is corrected on, I believe it's corrected on the hard copies, but it wasn't online, so I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. And also, because of the increase on the teacher's pay, the teacher substitute was going from $55 to $60 per day, and that's all in relation to what we're talking about here. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware on that. That has no impact on Plan A or Plan B. Those are just informational items for you on those.
I've asked this before. I think that if we have a certified teacher in the substitute role, that 20 days shouldn't matter. And we've talked about this before. I think it does our students good to have a certified employee in that substitute position.
I don't disagree with that at all, Mr.
I
Best.
think we need, as a board, we need to revisit that, and in my opinion, take that first 20 days out.
Having hired certified people in the past, that 20 days is also nice to make sure that they can actually meet the needs of the
I know,
job
but
before you decide to give them.
90% of those people, 90% of those people are retired teachers.
That we assume can still, or
Yeah,
get
but a lot
to
of
a
them
good
are
job.
our teachers.
We do have a provision that allows us to waive that on, like, when they're starting out a brand new year, like if you have a teacher, for instance, that is either on an FMLA or maternity leave or something like that, and we're having them start at the first day, because they have to prepare the classroom, prepare the roles, and do all that, we can waive the 20-day period because they're starting out on day one and they have a lot more to do outside of the normal walking in with a planned classroom and here's your lesson plans and go. The 20-day period, so we waive those at the very beginning of the year, and depending on where it is and what time, it can also be waived at the end of the year when we know that they are going to close out the year and have to do all the grading and that. So there's a couple areas where we can waive that 20-day period, but typically if it's in the middle of the year, and a certified sub is anyone who either holds a certification or has a degree. So in one sense, you could have someone that's agreed and they don't really technically have a certification in education. So,
Right.
but they do hold a degree, otherwise they don't qualify for that at all. But if that is something the board wants to look at, that's, you know,
I
that's.
just think it would help with some of our issues that we've had, and, you know, it makes it appealing to some retired teachers that want to make some extra money, you know, to make better money than $55 a day.
We will-
Fill in.
Yeah, we would be
I
happy
just
to
think
bring
it's
that
good
back
for
if
our
that's what
students.
Mr. Massey and the board's desires are,
So
that's not a
Are
problem.
you saying like if it's just a one day, if they're a certified teacher, pay them the $200?
I'd much rather have a certified teacher in that classroom than a mother. That's just me.
Even
I've
if they're
always
just
said
out
that.
sick for one day?
I they can keep that classroom rolling. It's not just babysitting.
Any other questions?
This has nothing to do with that probably, but, I really don't like to think about all this. But I
Me
know
neither,
at-
Miss Stowe.
At the end of the year, like our subs, a lot of them couldn't sub at the end of the year because they'd already done so many days. That has to do, I'm assuming, with benefits.
That has to do with Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act and how much they can
It really puts
work.
the schools in a bind.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. And that's why we've gone from charting, we try and chart them by weeks so they know exactly how many hours there are, so that we can we have a little bit more of a give versus a daily, and that comes out of payroll as to how much they can and cannot sub.
But they can't sub but 3 days a week, and isn't that about right?
I think I want to say it's 4, but has it?
It's 135 days a year now, they don't do it weekly, so that they can have Monday through Friday.
Okay, 135 days a year.
135 days a year.
Well, that's
But again, if they're used a lot, they could burn that up by the time you get to spring break. And so the really good subs may not be able to sub for May and, April and May, which is a critical time, as you all know, in your schools, there is a lot of requests for substitutes come April and May. And a lot of times, they're not as available. So it's 135, thanks Jennifer, so 135 days per year.
What's the cost difference between Plan A and Plan B?
I'm not your CSFO, but as best that we've been able to calculate, it's around $32,000
For
for
every year?
for this next year, correct?
For which plan?
Oh, from, Plan A is $32,000 more than Plan B.
Does Plan B cost, it only costs what the state has funded, or because you're just dividing out what was already happened?
Plan B is going to, it will still cost more than what we're going to be getting back, because what we're doing is where the flat 2% is, and they would be taking a decrease,
So
we're still,
32,000 is what it costs for Plan A, but what does Plan B cost?
32,000 is above what Plan B will cost. And as far as an actual, to give you a specific, I would have to ask Ms. O'Bannon for that. But Plan A is $32,000 above what Plan B would cost, system-wide.
What's the delta from Plan B to the state law?
Pardon me, sir?
What's the delta from Plan B to the state law?
Again, you're asking me finance questions, but the way it works is the state matrix pays on public school experience
No,
and
if we just implemented a pure 4-2, not freezing steps, what would that cost?
It'd probably be a few $1,000s, because you're basically just talking about the difference from the green to the red for these employees making above $75,000.
Any raise has always cost us money because we pay above the matrix.
And we
Yes,
have,
sir.
Correct.
and like with our assistant, we have local units, so like our local funded assistant principal units, we get no funding from the state from those. So when they get a 4% raise, we eat all 4% of that for all of them. So it's, and for our 30 local funded teachers, we get all of that 4%. And so it's gonna cost the district in total about $450,000. What the raise, just what the state did. And the 4% across the board will basically be about 30,000 more than that.
That was my real question.
Yeah.
Just implement the law.
If we implemented the
$450,000.
law, $450,000. Yeah.
How much of that's that's including their funded?
That's on top of what the state would give us.
Yeah,
That's what it costs us.
yeah, that's,
And every system that has local funded units, it costs them, and, yeah.
But we don't have that many locally funded units.
Well,
but,
With teachers and assistant principals.
This is, when you were saying that a principal wouldn't get the 4% raise, I think they will, no matter what their own, because the law says they will.
well, and that creates, that's another whole issue in itself, because when you look at the principal salary schedule, we will give a 4% raise to the entire principal salary schedule. Madison County Schools Board of Education says that is the salary schedule for a principal. You have decided that as a board, that you would compare that to a teacher at the teacher salary schedule extended to 240 days at their same degree and years of experience. So what makes this difficult is the 8 principals that are on teacher salary schedules that make above $75,000 are only going to get a 2% raise on that. Their principal salary schedule is still 4%. It's the Madison County Board that is given the option to go ahead and do the comparison. The law just says, we would have to defend that the law says 4% on the salary schedule, not the individual. The comparison is done annually. That's what's making this so difficult. Is we can't even begin to compare the principal salary schedules because we don't know how to set them up for next semester, for July 1 until we have the salary schedule, because we can't even do a comparison. And yes, you could technically have a principal. Matter of fact, I can think of a case right now, 2 elementary principals. One currently has 21 years experience and the other one has 18. The year 18-1 has 1 year additional experience as a principal. Because they're both on the teacher and because of the years of experience and the same degrees, the one with 21 years makes more money than the one with 18 years. But based on the 4% and the 2%, next year they're going to flip-flop. Because the 18 is below 75, so they're going to get a 4%, and the 21 is above 75, so they're only going to get 2% on theirs. So you can see where there is a lot of, that has to go on with us looking at things before we can even begin, and so we need a salary schedule. But to defend that on the board side, the board grants us that. That's not state law saying that they have to. They are getting 4% on their salary schedule, which is the principals. Just because they're on the teacher, that's a gift from the board saying, hey, you know, we want you to make at least what a teacher would at your same rank and your same pay and your same education. And that's a board decision. So if we go with the 4%, it's not a problem. All are being treated equally. If we go with the 2%, we're going to have some principals, well, there's 7 off the top of my head that are going to be paid at 2% on the teachers as opposed to 4% on the teachers because of what they make starting with. Pardon me, Ed?
Or 4% on the principal.
Or, well, those are off the principal salary schedule. They're not even on that schedule. They're all on the teachers because they make more money. One of the problems with our elementary principal salary schedule is that they have the lowest starting wage, and they also get paid the least amount for the 100 students. So they're getting the lowest amount of base across their steps as well as the lowest amount. And there's roughly a $300 difference per 100 kids between a high school and elementary. So they get, most of our elementaries make more money by being on the teacher's salary extended to 240 days than they do on the principal salary schedule.
Isn't that a shame?
Yes,
We're
ma'am,
building
it is.
a foundation of what will come later. Isn't that a shame?
But I mean, but that was one of the reasons why the board put that in, and you and Mr. Anderson would remember that you guys wanted to make sure that they did earn, they wanted to make sure that they earned at least what a principal would at that same rank, so that they would be equal to that person in that building. But yes, ma'am, that's one of the problems in there. And I'm hoping, and I think Mr. Massey is open to bringing that back at a later date, but right now we have to get a salary schedule approved so we can move forward with those are the 2 options. And like I said, you have the reasons why Mr. Massey is going with option A.
Yes, I'll be recommending option A, and if that, doesn't, that's the 4% across the board, and if it doesn't pass, then I'll recommend not exactly what the state mandated, but kind of a variation of that, so there's not a reduction in pay. So it'll be kind of Plan B, which is the green line on this, or which is, you have the full Plan B salary schedule. Okay.
Is that the end of the work session?
It is.
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Sure. I don't have a problem with that. Is there any problem with a 5-minute recess? Take a 5-minute recess and then return for special session at 7 a.m. session. We'll now proceed with Madison County Board of Education June 7th special session.
All right, I recommend approval of the agenda dated June 7th, 2016.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I recommend approval of the financial statements, payments of bills, and cash reports for April 2016.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
I recommend authorization for the That hurt.
Patella much?
Job-related injury.
That's right.
I'm ready to go.
Okay. Like a batter stepping out of a batter's box there, let you know. I recommend authorization for the superintendent to enter in
Did we
agreement.
do Project Lead the Way?
That's what I was doing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Recommend authorization for the superintendent to enter an agreement with Project Lead the Way. As attached.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Kind of how does this work in the schools?
I'm gonna let-
I'd ask Margaret to come. She's been spending the last 2 days with that group and, yeah.
Well, like I was reading in here about the training of the people, I mean, is this like a class? Is this something extra? How does it facilitate itself in a school?
Our high school started the Project Lead the Way like at Buckhorn. It's biomedical. It is a class. There are 4 classes that are part of the biomedical sciences program. At Sparkman, this coming year will offer computer integrated machinery, which is the Project Lead the Way engineering. So it is a class that they will be offering. The gateway is at Buckhorn Middle and at Madison County Elementary. And it is an elective class.
It is an elective, yes.
Okay.
At the launch schools, it will be part of their science curriculum. So it will be taught by any teacher that teaches science in kindergarten through 5th grade.
Which schools are those?
Endeavor, Harvest, Legacy, and Monroe.
And there'll be professional development for these teachers?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, the lead teachers are going through training. It's a 3-day training. So they've been with me from 8 to 5 the past 2 days, and then again tomorrow. And they will turn around the training July 26th to all the grade level teachers at those schools.
Thank you.
And your lead teachers, is that one for each grade?
1 for each grade at those schools. We decided the requirement is 1 per school, but we really wanted to have more teachers in the building that were lead teachers. So we're doing 1 per grade.
So what was the total amount for this grant that we're talking about? Was this?
This one is $750,000.
This is over 5 years? is that
5
right?
years.
And we're in year 2 or year 1?
We're in year 1.
Year
We'll
one.
be starting year 2. And then we've applied again for their last competition for Lynn Fanning, Mount Carmel, and Raven. And we'll know sometime in July.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I recommend the board to authorize Kim Sweat to negotiate, enter into a resolution session agreement.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Recommend approval of the payment of attorneys of Alabama Council of School Board Attorney Membership renewal fees for George Moore and Cindy Thompson.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right.
Complicated one.
Next one is the salary schedule. So I will recommend approval of Plan A, which is the 4% across the board raise for the 2016-17 salary schedule.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
I have a request. I'm in favor of Plan A, if we can make one change. Page 7, the first one on that, if we can change that to a support level coordinator position.
So you're saying just move that position to a different line?
Yes, change its salary scale to a different classification. And I'm requesting that be the only change we make. That position a coordinator under the support. You would have to create a new one because there isn't specifically one, but it would be in line. It's established through coordinator of computer services.
Well, page 1 has a coordinator line. Page 1 has a.
Now, that's certified. This will be you've got two categories. The first half of it is certified and the rest are support.
Gotcha.
The one I'm wanting to move from is on page 7, number 1, to, if you flip one page to page 8, that coordinator pay scale. If we can make that change, I'm in favor.
Basically, want to have a coordinator of development communications instead of a director.
Right.
I'd support that.
Can we,
So it'd be coordinator of computer services / coordinator of development communications.
Correct. Basically, it'd be that same title. You'd replace director with,
You have to go back in the job description and change the pay rate.
so if we have somebody in that position right now, though, I mean, how,
You need to do a partial cancellation, for cancellation to rehire. I haven't looked at that second thing.
I don't really know how that would work. If we have,
would that make sense?
we're having someone in a position and then reducing the salary schedule of someone who's already in there. I don't think we can do that under law.
I don't know how that
You
would
can
work.
take an additional recommendation for action.
But to reduce
On the
somebody's,
personnel side.
to reduce pay with,
They establish the salary schedule separate from the personnel action. Then you would have to do a personnel action that follows up with that salary schedule.
basically, we're creating a salary schedule for a position that hasn't been created or approved.
Well, we could
With
cut
the
the
job
salary
description.
schedule from out of the picture.
Yeah, that would be my other thing. We could work it out later if we just
I'd
pull
support
that, or we can pull that director
Pull
of
that line
communications.
completely off the salary schedule.
I'd support that.
Pull it off the
I'm-
salary
I'm in
schedule
favor
or
of
pull
it
it out of
if
the
we do
4%
that.
raise?
Pull it out of the
Pull it
salary
out of the
schedule.
salary schedule. is what
I believe.
Pull it off of the raise?
No,
with
No,
the
pull it
position?
completely out of the salary
Pull
schedule.
it from completely out of the salary schedule.
So we have somebody in a position and they don't get paid? Is that?
Well, until we get it worked out, yeah.
You get it worked out before July 1. This one doesn't go into effect until next year.
The salary schedule will go into effect July 1.
Right.
That's what I meant.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine, next year, in my mind, is
I got, there's a buzz back here, so I'll move the buzz.
That's my brain.
So we have a motion and a second, but the discussion is to continue with the approval of the recommendation, but only if we remove number 1, which they're not actually numbered, but the first listing on
Yes,
page
first
7.
line item on page 7.
You're not saying just keep it where it is? you're saying delete this row from the salary schedule. A job position that the board has approved, which has to go in. So we're not deleting a position, we're deleting a
taking-
line on the salary schedule for a
Correct.
position that we have.
Yes.
So we will have a position created by the board and nowhere on the salary schedule for that position
So
again.
no authority to pay.
That is
That makes
correct.
total sense. I see. No, actually, it doesn't make any sense. We have,
Can we do that?
You're gonna have to take further action after the salary schedule is adopted to correct that personnel piece.
what under Students First, does it talk about reducing pay of an employee? Do you have to, is there a process with that to go through?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
I think we need to know that before approving that. If,
Okay, in an effort not to hold up payroll, because I understand the urgency that they have. Again, if we can pull out that position off of my vote, I'm okay with Plan A.
I would be willing to pull that position separate from the 4%. But I think deleting from this opens us up to litigation with that, and it's not necessary, so I'd be willing to take that position and not have it be, which is state mandated to have a 2%
Right.
off of it. So that would be, which I would stay at 2% also across the board, would not be my salary either.
I think what this does is it forces the conversation, and so I'm willing, you know, I want the 4% raise to go, I want the salary schedule, but I want us to talk about this.
Well, you don't have to have forced conversation. I will have a conversation. You know, that's what we didn't have last time. So, you know,
No,
the thing is here is, if you don't have to hold people in limbo to have a conversation. And so, I'm willing to do 4% across the board, which would not, would not be myself. I'm willing to pull this position from that 4%. But deleting a position opens us up to litigation and makes no sense to do that, so.
You agree with that, Cindy?
Once the issue is resolved, it can be placed back in the salary schedule, wherever the position is resolved. And through a salary schedule amendment, you do those from time to time. And then that way payroll can move forward with all the other changes and go ahead and start working on that, and you can resolve it between now and the 30th and have it in place by July 1. That would be doable. So you just do a salary schedule amendment for that one position.
So currently, the motion in the second is for Plan A to the salary schedule with a request to pull number 1 on line 7 completely out of the salary schedule for this
For this vote tonight.
vote. And readdress line 1 at another time for a decision on how that particular singular salary schedule would be.
Amended and added.
That was the
amended.
request, to modify the recommendation.
So
To
at this
Marie
point,
to-
Mr.
to-
Massey would have to re-recommend, correct?
He'd have to agree to modify. his
He'd have to agree to modify his
Correct.
recommendation.
Correct.
So that's where we are now.
And just to be clear, you three are asking me not include the 4% raise. You're asking me to delete the position off the salary schedule.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing, that Mr. Nash.
Well, technically, the request is to pull that, page 7, the first line item, pull that position out of this recommendation for approval on this salary schedule tonight.
That's what I heard. That's all I'm saying.
Correct, not
That's what I
delete the
heard.
position, but to pull this particular salary off this schedule for right now.
Yeah,
Well,
if we're gonna delete the position, it's obviously gonna take much more than this conversation.
I don't think that's legally, you're saying you're not sure how that would work, right? If we have a person in a position that is determined, but their position's not on the salary
Well,
schedule.
the board actually, what I said was you can take that position off, work out the position, and see where you are. But the personnel piece to that is separate from the salaries. The salary schedule is a standalone document that you approve every year. And, then the personnel piece would have to fall in line,
And we've got
following
until
that.
July 1st to work this out. But this board made a unanimous vote on something that you recommended. You have ignored that. And we need to have a conversation. We've got time to do that between now and July 1st and not hold up payroll and what they have to do to put the salaries in the system.
That conversation is separate from approving the salary
I
schedule
understand that.
that you're required to do by law. I'm not gonna remove the position. I'll be fine to discuss this in closing comments. And I'm gonna make the recommendation as is. Okay.
So the current recommendation is for Plan A to have a 4% across the board to the salary schedule. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. I'm assuming everyone is opposed, no one's abstaining.
Yeah, I think we need, I'd like to, for the record, have those votes rather than, because they can be an abstention, right?
Correct, I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
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 Okay. So I'll go with Plan B, which is recommending the salary schedule, which is a 4% and a 2% modification.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second on Plan B for the salary schedule to have 4%, 2% split with, I believe it was some sort of remediation with the salary schedule in order to make it to where no one lost money, basically. Yeah. So we have a motion and a second for Plan B. Is there any discussion?
Could I ask that you remove, line 1 of page 7 on this side of the schedule?
No, you can't remove a position when somebody is in that spot.
Okay.
I think
I
we're
had
not,
that.
I
Okay,
think that.
and if you want to talk about evaluating his job performance, and that's now the role of board members, then let's have that discussion after we approve the dang salary schedule.
When does the salary schedule have to be approved? If there is a have-to date?
Pardon me, sir?
If there is a have-to date, what is our deadline for getting a salary schedule?
I would have to talk with Ms. O'Bannon and find out exactly how soon she needs them, because they'll have to plug everything in to roll over for the 1st of July. But I'll have to ask Ms. O'Bannon that. I don't have that specific answer for you.
July 1 would be the 4% raise is when we would be talking about this going into effect for our 12-month employees and I guess 11-month maybe. October 1 is when the state is funding the raise for teachers and assistant principals. So that's actually when we get the funding for this. I think it's important to, and Madison County Board of Education has always seemed to make it a priority to when there's a state-funded raise, that happens at the beginning of that contract year in July 1. And that's what this would be doing if we put it off and we didn't do it at the June 30 meeting, and if we didn't do it in July, and it ends up going until October 1 is when we have to do it. But basically, we miss a pay period for all teachers and several pay periods for extended contract folks.
But understand, you're choosing to miss an opportunity to put all that in place, other than one position that we can work out. And
Mr.
have
Nash,
time.
I understand there's one person you would like to terminate that you evaluated, I guess, on your own, and that you are using that to basically hold our other 2,400 employees
No,
at stake.
you
And that's your prerogative to do that.
You're the one that chose to not just simply. put
This
it out
is my
there.
recommendation, Mr. Nash. This is how this works.
Okay.
I recommend, and you can vote no.
Okay. And I'm done.
So just to be clear, we're not asking to delete the director of number 1 on page 7. We're
No.
only asking to table that salary discussion
Exactly.
to a separate
For
discussion
today.
from this total salary schedule.
Mhm.
So we're not asking to delete that position. My
You're just
understanding
asking
here
them to
is
give a
to
raise.
asking to table the discussion of this salary separate from the total
That is
of the
correct.
salary schedule.
No, that's not what I understood. I think what we're asking for is, it's a salary schedule with that as a whole. There's no line there at all until that is.
Correct, because we would table that.
Because one recommendation was put it down at the coordinator in the non-certified.
Okay.
One recommendation was to completely delete it from the surface of the earth. So I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think it's to leave the line in there without a raise. I think it's to approve tonight a salary schedule without a hole that answers, that then gives a 4% raise to 2,399 employees. One employee doesn't get a raise until that's resolved. I think that's what the discussion is. Correct? I'm just trying to clarify it.
Simply asking that we take the first line item on page 7 and take it out of this vote for tonight.
So it's a hole.
It's, you can call it tabled,
Freeze it,
So the salary
are you saying freeze it what
schedule
it
would be
currently is?
approved with the exception of that one item.
when we get finished with this vote tonight, we will not have approved page 7, line item number 1 as part of this approved salary schedule.
But you would have the opportunity, Mr. Massey, to bring that line item back.
I still
for
don't
discussion.
understand Mr. Nash's thing. Is, when this document, if, I may go back and recommend Plan A again.
Right.
Will this line be there in this document that's you won't line this first line in this document at the same salary as it is now with the 0% raise, or you want it out? Out. And so, my understanding, every job that we brought forward, when we bring that job forward, it comes with a place on the salary schedule. It is one in of itself. You can't have one without the other, especially when there's a person in place. So, I mean, I think, and if it's this one this week, who's it gonna be next month? And I just think that is,
I think we're doing this.
I think that is an incredible, and what is it, which one's it gonna be next year? You know, I mean, what mood are you gonna be in then? And so I just think that is
Mr. Massey,
not appropriate to ask, and that Plan B is my recommendation.
excuse me.
As is.
This has
Mr.
nothing,
Nash
Mr.
has-
Massey, this has nothing to do with a move. You're talking about a vote that was not a split 3-2 vote. We're talking a unanimous vote that this board took based on
On what,
a recommendation that you made. You have ignored that.
I have not ignored that. I took great lengths to figure out what unprecedented move that was, but it wasn't a recommendation for termination. I would love to have that discussion. That should be separate than this, Mr. Nash. Using that here is not appropriate. This is about 2,400 folks that we have working for us that the state has deemed appropriate in this. There's always going to be places where we can be better.
But why is this
And we
our
can do
fault?
better.
Stop. Why is this
Nothing
our
is your
fault?
fault.
Well, thank you.
you
It's
don't-
not. We're asking you to do one thing, to have some discussion, and you're turning this around on the board. That is very frustrating.
You're asking me to eliminate a strand on the salary schedule where we have some.
For discussion.
For further
It-
discussion.
well-
Further
not
discussion.
Why didn't you ask for it to be a discussion item on tonight? We can put, I just said we can discuss it at the end of this. I mean, we can
Because now
have a
the vote-
full-out
you gotta
discussion.
discuss it
We're in the
after the
middle
vote.
of a recommendation of, with this.
I'm just pointing out that you are missing an opportunity. You're saying 2,400. You're missing an opportunity for a salary schedule and a raise to go in place for 2,399 employees. That's your choice, not the board.
I'm willing to freeze that salary schedule, that line. I'm willing to keep it at 2%. I recommended it to be 4%. And so it's, you can't delete a line. You can't have somebody employed and not be on the salary schedule.
I apologize to the other 2,399 people.
you owe them one if you vote no for both of these.
It's not on my show.
Well, you just apologized, so
I apologize
on behalf
for
of them, I'll
what you're
accept.
having.
It's ridiculous.
So the current recommendation is for Plan B. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
Opposed?
Now, Stumps, we have some work to do to figure out what that means.
We need to come back with a salary schedule. The board will approve before the current salary schedule expires.
And we may
What
have to
happens if
come
we
back
don't?
Before the 30
The
days.
current salary schedule is for the 15-16 school year.
Right.
It does not carry over until next year.
Doesn't carry over to July 1, so what happens if we don't have one?
You have to work, you have to resolve this dispute with the board and come up with a salary schedule that they will approve to.
I make an assumption that at some point the state will come over and come into play in that.
After July, I'm sure when we go after July.
Haven't looked at that. Letter F.
I recommend the board award the bid for Hazel Green High School, the football field press box and outdoor aluminum to Outdoor Aluminum Company for $199,500.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I recommend approval of the deletion, donation of surplus property.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I want to take a moment to talk about some incredible people that we have in our school system and some incredible things that are going on around our schools. I know sometimes we get focused on one particular thing or one particular item, but with this approval, it's going to change some lives and has changed the culture of some kids in some of our schools. And I don't know, Mr. Weeks, you mind kind of talking about what this recommendation means? Yes.
What we've asked is that we had some old tech that was not working anymore, at least with our system, but it's still functional, but useless to the county. So what we are going to do is we're going to take that old tech to Africa. Village Crossroads has partnered with Hope International School in Moringa Village, Uganda, which is a very small school, 270 students. Had the opportunity last year to go and train teachers and work with the principal there. Get to go back this year. We have a pen pal program. Our kids have raised money for school supplies. The last 2 weeks of school, and that's always crazy anyway, but our kids raised $370 just for school supplies, and that's just pennies, dimes, nickels, that kind of thing. And then also, so we've got pen pals. The kids also did the Fellowship of Christian Athletes did the pencil drive, and I think we gathered over probably 600 pencils or something like that. And this school is a village school. Up until this year, they didn't have any concrete flooring. They've got chalk and chalkboards and notebooks. That's it. No textbooks, no posters, no technology, none of this stuff. So we are having the opportunity now to take MacBooks and old MacBooks, but still functional MacBooks, to give these kids the opportunity to really open up their world. And we're really excited about the possibility also of not just doing pen pals, but actually being able to do some Skyping with some different things so our kids can talk to their kids and that kind of thing. So our kids at Crossroads have really gotten behind it. The kids at Hope International have no idea. And so on June 20th, when I show up, they're expecting some professional development. They're expecting maybe some pencils and stickers and that kind of thing. And we're going to be able to show up with some older but still functional MacBooks. So it's going to be just incredible.
There, Owens Crossroads has a pretty incredible kind of a mission field mindset of helping those in need, and it's a pretty incredible to see. to see those kids and just that whole faculty in action, so congrats there. Mr. Weeks.
I want to thank Dan for getting all this ready so Scott can take them with him when he goes.
Yes, the computer services is helping too.
We'll send pictures.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, I recommend approval of the following contracts for services.
Motion. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Yeah, I have an ethics law concern that it appears that we have employee family members that are part of this contract services. And I want to make sure, because our employees are covered by the ethics law, so I want to make sure that the contracting side and the selection side are all handled in accordance with the ethics law so that our employees don't get in trouble. I don't know if there's anything there. I just want to make sure that we're considering the fact that all of our highly compensated employees are governed by the ethics law. I have a concern for our employees that we may be inadvertently putting them in a bad position. I'm just raising that up.
You raise it in public, you want to specifically contracts here that, would you like for us to kind of explain?
I don't know that it's just a concern.
Do you need an explanation? I mean, I'm kind of, do we need to have a
I just
separate
think we need,
discussion, or
I
do we
just
need
think we need to take a look at it. Because I think we can approve this. I think we can approve it tonight.
Which number are you referring to?
36 and 37 jump out at me, but there may be others, I don't know. I just want, how do we handle employee family members when it comes to services like this? It'd be the same thing if it was, we hired the principal's kid to be one of those supervised janitors, or, I just, how are we handling that so that it's not nepotism against the ethics law? That's.
So this is our warehouse things. Dan, do you want
May
to
I
talk
address
about this a little bit?
These two employees will have no contact with their parents, they're not supervised by their parents. The parents had no decision-making process over there. This was the reason we're hiring somebody, is because we went from 8 people in the warehouse down to a supervisor, an employee, and a printer. We've saved several $100,000, which is not germane to this issue. But we do like to hire people who we know will work.
I got it.
So
I'm just raising a concern
Right.
that we're
Ms.
opening a
Thompson,
door for trouble.
If these employees, contract employees, none of the decision-making came from their family, they're not supervised by any member of their family in any way, shape, or form. And they're paid a minimum of $7.25 an hour to move books and move, that. I guess if they were doing something with the departments that their parents work in, it would be a different issue. But this is strictly, they are supervised by myself and the warehouse staff, which they have no family relationship with.
Okay.
My question would be too, I know we recognize those things, but if we're gonna ask that question, do we need to make sure that every single person on there doesn't have a relative? Maybe not a relative.
That's what I'm saying. I just,
recognize them.
those names jumped because I recognized that.
And I also talked to Ms. O'Bannon to make sure that we weren't, stepping across any line whatsoever as far as, finance, auditing and all that. And she actually was the one who signed off on the contracts and,
That wasn't a concern I raised. I'm sure the contract's
We've
valid.
done it for years.
My question is,
And Ms. Thompson would have, if they have no contact with the parents didn't have any signature,
nepotism and
nothing, no
being hired
supervision, nothing.
That's after school daycare. those
I
things.
think you're looking at more in terms of the selection process for based on this description of work they would be doing? Were other people given an opportunity, that type of thing? How was the position posted, or, I mean, there's not really a posting requirement?
Their contracts, you know, that whole list of however many 40 contracts are, I don't know that any of those are posted. This is
And you don't, I'm not saying you had to post it, I'm just saying, how was word gotten out there that the
yeah,
position?
these are
was
temporary
available?
positions for 6, 7 weeks to move textbooks in a warehouse.
Mr. Anderson, are you satisfied with the explanation at this point to move forward?
Yeah, I understand it. I just said I want to raise a concern.
So is there any other discussion concerning contracts? We have a motion and a second, correct? All those in favor, please say aye.
Opposed?
Aye. David, are you still thinking, or did I not hear you?
You didn't hear me. I said aye.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you don't feel well.
Majority vote.
That, it passed, 4 to 1.
All right. I recommend approval of the following personnel items and addendum as submitted.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
You put, you provided for the to be determined, on the strong one, so as TBD.
Yeah. The,
There's
Have
dates
been
on all
resolved.
The hard copy, the printed version should say what school that we're employing that.
And that's the current one.
That's the current one, yes, sir.
not everybody has that part.
So returning
There was
to,
a hard copy for everyone.
returning to the school.
Yes,
On the addendum.
returning to that school.
It's completely unavoidable.
Number 9.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
All right, I want to congratulate, finally got to this point tonight. We have a new principal at Harvest Elementary, and that's Miss Heidi Phelps. And Dr. Jones is here in support and in sadness and in memoriam. Miss Heidi sort of returns home to Harvest. I'm very excited for her. And also congratulations to Miss Kathy Reynolds, who will be the principal at Walnut Grove Elementary School. And we have incredible confidence in both of those folks. Mr. Everett is here, or Ms. Reynolds is currently assistant principal, and they have served our schools incredibly well. And look forward to seeing what they can do as principal.
At this point, we would have a request
Have
for
an
executive session. At this point, we have a request to move into an executive session in order to discuss imminently likely litigation. At the point we finish executive session, the only action that will be left is adjournment. Y'all are welcome to stay to watch that. It can get very exciting. If not, then we thank all of y'all for attending, and we'll be in executive session as long as we still have to have a motion and a second to go
Motion.
into executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor from the floor and the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.